This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This is your COVID-19 local update. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. On April 21st, we learned about an outbreak of COVID-19 at the Orchard Villa retirement community in Pickering. 1 week later, 49 residents there have died from the disease. Joining us now is Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ashe. Kevin, thank you for making some time for us here at Rogers TV. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's obviously a strange time to take over the reins of the mayor's office with Mayor Ryan's absence, but we're dealing with things day to day. The city is still running as a city, doing many things virtually, but we're a strong community, and we'll get through this together.
Yes, you are a strong community, but you didn't need this extra test of the COVID outbreak at Orchard Villa. When did you learn that there was a problem there?
Well, a number of families of residents started reaching out to the mayor's office about the lack of communication. So my first advocacy was with MPP Bethan Falvey as well as the LIN to develop a process that residents and their families can get information about residents. So a hotline was developed. So that was our first call to action. And this crisis at Orchard Villa is only 30 days old in terms of less than 30 days old, and we've lost 50 souls. And the issues escalated day after day, week after week. So we've been very active in the file, and we've involved all the levels of government higher than us in terms of the region issuing the order, the province getting Lakeridge in, and now the federal government lending the brave men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces through Operation Laser, and they're on site today.
You've got two, I believe two teams, two military teams that are working on there on a regular basis now, correct?
I believe so. To be honest, the communications about the role and the responsibilities of Operation Lasers hasn't been shared with me in regards to what they're doing and how many. But I was on site yesterday for the parade, and I saw the military there, and my daughter works there as well. So she says they're there and helping out. So we welcome them in our community, and hopefully we can get over this hump.
Let's talk about the motorcade. It was quite a show of support for the frontline workers and the seniors who were there at Orchard Villa. Did the outpouring of support and the sheer numbers of yesterday's motorcade surprise you?
Well, yes. I mean, we overflowed 2 parking lots of our rec center. We had tremendous turnout from our first responders with paramedics, fire, and police. As we went up Valley Farm Road, there was residents lining the roads in a social distance safe way. And when we got there, it's estimated we had 300 or 400 people or cars in the motorcade. And there was many residents and at their windows, and a number of the nurses and PSWs out for the sirens and the honking. Many of the cars had signs of support, including signs of remembrance from people that have passed. So it was very, very emotional in terms of our participation, but we could see some smiling faces, which I'm sure there hasn't been too many smiling faces in that facility over the past month.
Important to note, I want to let our viewers know that we are taping this April 30th because things do change day to day, moment to moment. You mentioned that your daughter is working there.
Yes.
Quite a job. Has she worked there long?
Well, this is she went back to school. She's a single mom of a 4-year-old who lives with us. So I'm fortunate enough to have my granddaughter around all the time. She went back to school in September and graduated in March with her designation as a personal service worker. And she applied with Lakeridge Health. The hospital is the one that actually hired her. And there's tremendous need there. And once Lakeridge took over, they hired her, and she's been working there, I guess, for about a week now. And it's going to be quite a story to be told about her first job as a PSW, working at the epicenter of fatalities in Ontario and indeed the country at that one particular home. So she wasn't forced to go. I think she's brave to go. Lakeridge didn't make it a condition of employment, but it's a hard job, and I'm proud that she's doing it. And she's one of many that are trying to service residents and families in a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, what a way to start a career. Her picture was in a local paper not that long ago, and very emotional, a very touching picture taken through a window where she's comforting a senior who obviously in a great deal of distress over
Right.
this situation.
Yeah, she was competing for the headlines against her stepfather. So she was on the Star and on media. So I'm proud of what she's doing, and I'm thankful for what she's doing and all the other frontline workers that are dealing with a very, very difficult situation.
So does she live with, she and her child live with you then?
That's correct. Yep.
So when she
Yes.
comes home,
we live in a townhome, executive townhome, with a parking spot in the garage and one in the driveway. So we've turned the garage into her kind of area where she strips down, puts her clothes in a garbage bag, and goes right in and showers. So we're trying to be as safe as possible for her, for us, for Jameson, which is our granddaughter as well. So we're adapting to it, and so far so good.
Okay, and fingers crossed. What can you tell us, though, of her personal experience there and, the seniors that she's helped, she's talked to? Not asking you to tell any tales out of school here.
No,
but...
no, I think it's widely reported that, there's been 300 and something cases in Durham, in Pickering, and 52 deaths in Pickering, and 50 of them are from there. And I think there was 40 workers also tested positive. So the problem is with all these support workers absent from work because they're self-isolating, the burden of care has gotten down to 2 or 4 on a shift where they would normally be 6 or 8. So they're very hard at work, and I think things have gotten better since Lakeridge has got there, and I think things are getting better as well with the military there. But it is an exhausting job, and they're losing patients. It's slowed down, which is a blessing, but they're losing patients still, on a daily basis, and that's hard for any healthcare worker to work hard and have an outcome that's not pleasant. So, yeah, it's very difficult in that situation, emotionally draining, physically draining, and hopefully we'll get the resources in there to share the load of burden of the work and get that quality of care back up that has, I think, been challenged during this time of pandemic.
Now, you say previously you talked to a lot of families who have residents there at Orchard Villa. Are you still receiving phone calls? There have been headlines in the news that families are asking for an investigation into that particular long-term care home. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I got an email as late as yesterday talking about that, and I think there will be all kinds of levels of viewing of what right, what wrong. After the fact, my focus now is not about a blame or pointing fingers. It's about getting the resources there that are required. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a Royal Commission or a public inquiry or a coroner's inquiry that will get to the nitty-gritty of why the pandemic went through old age homes, long-term care homes like wildfire. So I'm supportive of the residents and their residents' families' request to have a thorough look at some of the shortcomings that we've uncovered. I think we're going to have an adult conversation in our society about long-term care, private versus public versus for-profit in the longer term. And I think that's a good conversation. And I have come to realize how important our grocery store clerks are and the personal service workers and the truck drivers, how much value they bring to our food supply chain and keeping us safe when we're all staying at home. So, yeah, we're going to have a review, and I understand Pickering Councillor Pickles will be bringing in a motion asking for an investigation as well.
Orchard Villa, you mentioned the difference between a publicly run and a private run for profit. Orchard Villa is run privately, is it not?
That's correct. But the problem hasn't been necessarily private versus public, because, we did have the situation in Oshawa, Hillsdale Terrace, which is run by the region. Across the river, the Rouge River at Seven Oaks, also public, and pandemic and the COVID-19 is impacting that community. So we're again going to have an adult conversation about how we manage long-term care facilities in the future, and how we look after our vulnerable seniors in their glory years or golden years in retirement.
Okay, we are speaking with Pickering Deputy Mayor today about, a lot of things. First and foremost, the outbreak of COVID-19 at Orchard Villa. We're going to take a quick break, but more of our conversation with Kevin Ashe after this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hey, do you like movies? You know I do. That's why I see all of them. And if you want to know which ones you should see too, check out the latest Cinema Scene reviews and interviews. They're hot, fresh, and delicious, and they're online at rogerstv.com/cinemascene, popcorn not included. This offer is available everywhere. tell your friends. Be the first on your block to click rogerstv.com/cinemascene. It's so nice, we have to mention it twice.
It's a heartbreaking, and many families and constituents reached out to me, and I talked to all of them, many same day, and I will continue to. No ask is too great, whether it's to get the hospital into the facility through a public order through Durham Health, or bringing the military in. To someone asked me if I could help get an iPad in there. And I said, well, I'll check with public health, but I'll do everything I can.
We're incredibly grateful for the federal support in terms of actioning our military to come and assist in our homes. And we know that the staffing issues were predating the pandemic.
Okay, you were just watching Pickering Uxbridge MPP Peter Bethlenfalvy, and that was Mary Lee Fullerton, Minister of Long-Term Care, from a provincial daily press conference on April 25th, both talking about the COVID-19 outbreak at Orchard Villa in Pickering. Once again, we are joined by Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ashe. So are you happy with the response then from the federal government and the provincial government in regards to your concerns about the outbreak there?
Absolutely. We've, again, the region responded with the public health order. The province through Lakeridge responded with putting a team in there, and the federal government's responded by having Operation Laser being the mission of Operation Laser being at Orchard Villa. So the response from upper tiers of government have been very responsive. MPP Bethlenfalvy and I have a call every week with Mayor Barton, Uxbridge and Pickering, as well as Regional Chair John Henry. And it's a check-in meet, but he also says, what can we do for you? And we start talking about post-COVID as well, about what the requirements might be and economic recovery and the like. So,
well, let's talk about some other things now. Let's go on to talk about, you've recently extended your closures and cancellations to July 1st.
Yes, the province, we typically had tied our closures to the schools. So that has now gone to May 31st. Mm-hmm. We've now extended it to the end of June, and we've now canceled Canada Day celebrations as well. So we're looking at doing something virtually rather than having 10,000 people watching fireworks. We just didn't think that was a good idea. And it takes some time to plan those things. So our facilities, which are pools, libraries, and our rec center and our community facilities will remain closed until July 1st. But there's a lot of things being done virtually. Libraries doing story time. We have Pilates and yoga and pump classes done virtually as well through our rec center. So it's certainly a different way to deliver public service, but we're going to have a new reality when we get through this pandemic, and hopefully, you know, we're on the downside in regards to cases as well as fatalities, and I think public bodies are going to have to respond to the new reality.
Yeah, fingers crossed we're on the downside. Pickering also opened up a new community hygiene hub. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, in conjunction with Durham Health, we have opened up our Dunbarton indoor pool for a hygiene center for unsheltered and people that need some assistance. It's open 7 days a week from 8 to 12 and from 3 till 7. It's located at 655 Shepherd Avenue, adjacent to the Dumbarton High School. And again, public facilities are being repurposed to the extent possible. And we're giving people that are unsheltered an opportunity to use showers, washrooms, as well as Pickering Fire, Professional Fire has offered personal hygiene kits, toothpaste, toothbrushes, et cetera, which we're thankful for. And the region of Durham's health department also has resources there. If people need shelter overnight, arrangements are being made to access the facilities elsewhere in the region. And often the people that are unsheltered use public facilities or the Tim Hortons or other things that are closed now. So it's an added challenge for bathroom breaks and personal hygiene. So we're delighted to partner with the Durham region. Again, it's at Dumbarton Indoor Pool at 655 Shepherd Avenue, and it's open from 8 to 12 and from 3 to 7 p.m. Every day.
You know, when you think of those that are unsheltered, not that visible in Pickering, but they are there and the need is great, yes?
They are here. I mean, I see a gentleman outside of City Hall on a bench often. We do see people panhandling at our 401 exits. I make the assumption that they are unsheltered. And there are certain pockets and throughout our community, not to the same degree as Oshawa or Whitby, who has the mental health challenges at Ontario Shores, but they are here. And we're just thankful that the region has picked a place in Durham West, as well as one in Ajax, to offer support to the unsheltered.
You know, municipalities can't run a deficit, but COVID-19 has basically, I mean, let's face it, it's blown up your budget. Whatever work you did prior to COVID-19, it's out the window. What challenges now is this presenting every municipality with?
Well, our senior team here has gone through the budget, and we're delaying what we can. We're still doing some infrastructure renewal. We're still paving roads. It's actually a good time to pave roads because there's not too many cars on them. But we've deferred some items to future years, and we're sharpening the pencil to make sure that we come out of this in a financial position that's sustainable. You're quite correct. Municipalities are not allowed to run deficits. The real challenges are for the upper tier governments, like the region, who have added calls for paramedics, which is done by the region, added calls by police, which is done by the region. We have a transit system that's running with no fare collection, but still being run to the to pretty much schedule, but we have a decrease of 75 to 85% of ridership. In Toronto, it's upwards of 90%. And we also have at the region long-term care homes that are obviously challenged in terms of overtime, sickness, some people not being able to pay fees, etc. So we're trying to be prudent. We're going to come out of this strong, and we hopefully will come back bigger and better once we get through this.
I've actually heard talk of municipalities going to the province to lobby them for the ability to run a deficit. They say things are going to have to change. Do you agree?
Yes, and FCM, which is the federal Federation of Canadian Municipalities, has requested the federal government give $10 billion to municipalities based on the gas tax and the ridership of public transit. I think in Pickering we won't have a deficit, but we'll be very, very close. Typically we have a surplus every year. We'll be very close to break even. We do have the luxury of some degree of reserves that we could access, but there are many municipalities that aren't as fortunate as Pickering. We also do have a revenue stream that's going to be new to us, which is the casino, which we were expecting it to be open already in April, and it probably won't be open until late summer or after Labor Day, and who knows what casino gaming will be after this in terms of personal protection and social distancing and the like. So Pickering's in pretty good shape. We're fortunate, but if municipalities need to run a deficit, I think the province will heed the call.
My husband and I actually drove past the casino, the new Pickering casino this weekend, and we looked at each other and shook our heads and said, what a time for them to open. Heartbreaking on many levels.
I was actually in it this week.
You were?
I was, yeah. There's only 4 or 5 managers running the place. It looks fantastic, and they're already thinking about social distancing and PPE screens and the like. So they are planning for that. The Pickering Casino will open approximately 4 weeks after all the other properties open. Ajax, Port Perry, Rama, Niagara, et cetera, et cetera. So they're gearing up for maybe July or August. So we'll be 30 days after that. But it's, a couple thousand jobs that people were expecting to have that have been impacted by the closing of the gaming facility.
We've only got about a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to briefly mention the virtual farmers market. That's another thing people are missing. You can't go out to your farmers market, but you've come up with a solution.
Yeah, I often go. The farmers market is located in the parking lot across from City Hall on the South Esplanade every Tuesday, I believe it is. And we would have already kicked off. So we've gone virtually. So a number of the vendors that come every week have joined with our partnership to have virtual farmers markets. So you can go to the city's website at pickering.ca and look at the farmers market, and you can do your online shopping through the many vendors that are typically there. And again, hopefully, once we get through this, we'll again have the vendors set up in a social distancing pleasing way in our south parking lot on South Esplanade, so we can again have local fresh food being available to our residents on a weekly basis.
Okay, we've only got about 30 seconds left, but I have to ask you, how is Dave Ryan? How's he doing?
Dave, I talk to Dave pretty much every couple of days. He's back home from the hospital. He had a major surgery in regards to his lungs, and his mind is 100%, I can tell you that. He asked for an update on a number of things. And although I'm enjoying being deputy mayor, I'll be happy when he's back in the mayor's chair, and I hope that'll happen in the fall of this year.
Okay. We are out of time. Deputy Mayor, Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ashe, thanks so much for spending time with us today, taking time out of your very busy schedule. Give Pickering Mayor Dave Ryan our best. And thanks to all of you for watching us. Until next time, I'm Deborah Hutchison.
Thank you.